Enai, Miesa, Minu, Bako.
Let's go.
Hello, my name is Jemila Abdulai, and I'm the creative director and founder of Circumspecte.com. So today I want to talk about crafting your career. I often get messages from some of you asking about how do I get into the international development space? How do I get into this new sector that I don't know too much about? Or just how do I go about being very strategic with my career? So today I'm going to talk a bit about that and share 5 points or tips that I have used throughout my career in order to help me make certain decisions and to find my place. So some of you probably know me as a writer and blogger, but I actually have a background in international economics and international affairs. And so most of my experiences have been in the international development sphere, and most of my expertise comes from there. That said, I think most if not all of these points are relevant and transferable across different sectors. So even if you're a scientist, or if you're a mathematician or a tech person, or even in fashion, these are tips that you can apply to your own careers. I first heard about reverse engineering through a bunch of podcasts that I was following. And I found out that it's actually a very popular concept and one that most of us actually use, even though we might not necessarily realize it. What reverse engineering is looking at yourself or where you want to be in the next 2, 5, 10 years, and then working backwards what it is that you would have done in order to get there. So as an example, I knew from a very early age when I was in high school that I wanted to have an international career. I didn't necessarily know what that meant or didn't necessarily know what I needed to do to get there. But I did know that I wanted to work in Francophone West Africa, and a key component of that was French. And so I took French very seriously, and I would go beyond just classes and actually try to practice, have pen pals, and practice my French that way. And I ended up spending over 12 years studying French all the way to grad school. And now I speak French, and I've worked mainly in Francophone African countries. So that's an example of identifying where you'd want to be and then figuring out what it is that you need and planning towards that. You need to identify your strengths and your weaknesses and then improve upon your weaknesses. And as you're starting off in your career, or if you're looking to switch careers into a relatively new sector, I would always advise to take learning opportunities over money. Why? Because in today's job market, it's a catch-22, but you need to have experience in order to gain experience or to get the job. So how do you gain that experience? Volunteering is a great way of doing that. You can either volunteer with many organizations or with one organization, but make sure that those organizations or volunteer opportunities tie into what you would like to do or into how you would like to improve your skills or gain new skills, really. You might just have come out of grad school and maybe the job market in the US, for example, isn't the best. Consider taking a job in maybe Senegal, for example, if it gives you the opportunity to learn things that you will not be able to learn in the US. Take note of what excites you or makes you different. People will often say, oh, you're good at this, but do you actually take note of those things? Like if I was to ask you today, what do people usually say about you? Could you answer that question? Maybe people always tell you, oh, you're really good at this, or this is the kind of value that you add to me, or there's something that you usually do that people always say, oh, she's very good at this. Take note of that. When you're looking at jobs, which ones jump out at you? Which ones get your heart racing or get you feeling like, oh yes, this job is for me? One thing I used to do was I had a folder and I would save job descriptions that I was very, very interested in. And then I started seeing a trend. I was interested in jobs that were very people-oriented, that gave me flexibility and were very diverse roles or tasks involved, and also that allowed me to explore and to learn. So that gives you a sense of the kind of jobs that might be ideal for you, because that's what makes you excited. Now, what makes you different? Identify what makes you different and find out how that overlaps with the kind of jobs that you're looking at or looking to go into. Pay attention to the trends and patterns.
Come on, don't be shy. This is where your heart goes.
Network. So many people talk about networking, and there's so many networking events here in Ghana. It's a thing. Like, there are always events where you can go and network, but few people actually network. So networking is not going to an event and making small chit chat with one or two people. Most of the time, networking is actually listening to people, and then figuring out which people have interests or work experience that ties into what you would like to do. Now, once you figure that out, you shouldn't be focused on asking them for a job. Nurture relationships. I think that's what a lot of people do not do. They think that when I go to this event, this is who I'm going to hit. They often go for like the panelists, but it might surprise you that the person who actually will add a lot of value to your career path is not on that panel. So think outside the box and try to get to know as many people as genuinely as possible. But don't do it because of what you can get from them. Do it because you see overlap in interest areas and ways to learn from each other. Stay open and challenge yourself. You never know where the opportunities are going to come from. Pay attention to what's happening in the world and see how you see your place in the world in that sense. When I graduated from Mount Holyoke College in 2009, it was at the height of the global economic crisis, and the chances for getting a job in the US were very slim. So what did I do? I had applied for over 15 jobs, and most of them were no's. And so I decided to put my resume online by creating what I called my professional corner. So I used WordPress and literally put information about my career interests and so on online. And that was very instrumental in me eventually getting my job as a journalist in Washington, D.C., because it was clear that I had been working on journalism, for example, with the college newspaper for a very long time, and I had examples of my work out there. So stay open and challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to think differently, to do differently, and to go out there and, look for what it is that you want. So, in a nutshell, reverse engineer your career goals, prioritize learning and experience over money, get to know yourself, network and nurture relationships, and stay open, challenge yourself, and be creative. So that's it for now, guys. I hope that this was useful, and if there are any follow-up questions, please do feel free to pass them on by leaving a comment below. You can also just tweet at me at Abdulai. If there are other topics that you would like me to talk about, same thing, just tweet or leave a status update on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram using Ask Jemila, and who knows, I might just answer your question next. So thank you for staying tuned. For other videos, check out Circumspecte's YouTube channel, and until the next one, take care.